Hello everybody again, Reggie Time here, back with another installment on my 10NL challenge to win $1,000. Since the last video, which I think ended around here, I don't know exactly where it ended, but kind of ended somewhere around this area. We played an awful lot last night. We put a big grind in, we put whatever that is. Overall, I think it's like a 3,000 hand session, which is pretty chunky grind for me. As you can see, we had a fucking disaster not long after we stopped recording. And I think this was, we got ace king in twice pre-flop, didn't work out for us. Basically, there wasn't much bad play in there that I could see upon review. In terms of like getting it in, we just lost every fucking pot that that you could imagine. And I'm really very pleased with how I responded to that, because typically when people have these like crushing swings, I mean, what did we do? We lost over 5 buy-ins in 500, 600 hands, something like that, maybe 700 hands. Yeah, it was pretty crushing in terms of like, fucking hell, this is really frustrating. But you know, we steadied the ship a little bit, and then we won a fucking enormous pot, which was really nice. And again, we had this really shitty little run here where we just never made a hand. And these are really frustrating, and these are things that can sometimes lead to all kinds of mental game issues, because, you know, just like you're raising, missing, or you be c-betting flop turn and getting raised on the turn and having to fold, and all those things. And you can see for a while my red line, it went into free fall. It's pretty good to there. What's that, after 1,500 hands, we are only running down like less than a buy-in in red line, and then whoosh down to here after just another 1,000 hands later, and we've managed to lose like another 20 buy-ins in there, so another 2 buy-ins in red line. And that comes with two things: that you get a little bit gun shy sometimes, and also just having reasonable hands, but, you know, playing medium-sized pots and being forced to fold at some point. That's kind of what happened there. But a lot of it is just due to not playing as well as you can do, or what have you. There's all kinds of reasons for it, but it's not pleasing. And that kind of red line long term, you can't sustain that kind of red line and have a profitable poker career. So we kind of got it back on track a little bit, and then, as you can see, it's gradually trending downwards. Now currently like minus $45 at non-showdown to 3,700 hands, which isn't where I'd like it to be. I usually work on, if my red line's like minus 10 big blinds 100, I can cope with that. You know, I have no issue with that. I don't worry about it. We're slightly more than that at the minute, but we've got such a small sample size and don't really care. And to be frank, I haven't had too many really good hands where I've managed to go bet and have somebody fold. We've been going to showdown more than I'm used to. And obviously, when you go to showdown more, you don't have as good a red line. So yeah, with that said, we're going to get on with it in a minute, but we're going to just show you the one big hand of the session, because we did kind of get lucky. Well, obviously, we didn't have the stats on these guys. We called a min raise on the bottom with the king 10 suited, flop a gut shot, he pots it, and I would typically fold here, but because we're like still got 150 blinds behind, we have a gut shot, we had the backdoor flush draw. I thought, you know what, we'll just take one off here, because when he bets this big into 2 players, when he pots it, I usually think he's got a good hand. I mean, as you can see, he has 2 kings. We hit absolute gin on the turn. He bets again, which I just, by now I'm thinking he has to have a monster. He's bet twice into 2 players, albeit this is a slightly smaller bet. Just 3/4 pot. He still bet twice into 2 players. This player here is called, so I mean he has to have something too, you would imagine. So I think we're just going to get good value on my raise here, and I like to go for a very, very small raise, hoping to string both of them along and just set up stacks to shove the river. He calls, our other friend calls here, which is beautiful. We get the brickiest of bricks, as Norman says. Deuce deuce on the river never changes anything anywhere. It certainly doesn't on this hand. Both guys check to us, we jam, and unfortunately we don't get the call for second player, but yeah, we just get to stack kings. He can consider himself pretty unlucky there, but once he gets raised on the turn and we jam the river, you know, he should probably find a fold at some point. But yeah, I was obviously really pleased with that one. So, without further ado, let's get on with the session. I played a little bit before the session started. I wanted to start around 11 o'clock, but the wife's on holiday this week. And normally she goes to bed much earlier when she's at work because she has early starts. Tonight she decided to stay up, so I started playing before she went to bed, which is why we haven't captured the session from the start. One thing I'm going to try doing more this session, because last night I found myself like 3-betting a bunch, and just getting loads of calls, sorry, and like with 2 high cards like ace king, ace queen, king queen, all those types of hands, and I was just missing a lot, and I was finding it really hard to continue, and I was getting called in 1 or 2 spots, which is when my red line kind of went absolutely to fuck. A raise here when you bet so small on this board. So I'm going to slightly change my 3-betting strategy for the time being. I'm going to bet again here with my 10. You can definitely get caught by some worse hands. And I'm going to be 3-betting more pocket pairs and shit hands, and not 3-betting as often with like my decent Broadway cards. And I'm going to be looking to play more aggressively when I flop top pair, etc. I'm not entirely sure it's going to work out, but what I know I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be 3-betting as much with ace jack, ace queen. I'm going to be calling with those hands, and just having like aces, kings, queens, tens, jacks, and ace king as like a 3-betting range, and then throw some random junk in there sometimes and see how that gets on. Because the problem is when we 3-bet ace king in or out of position and we miss, it's kind of hard to continue when you want to like c-bet post flop, and all the conundrums come into play, like I'm only making worse hands fold, better hands out folding, all those type of things. It's a bit of a shitty conundrum that I kept finding myself in. Whereas if you 3-bet, I don't know, 10-7 suited or whatever, and you miss, you know what you're doing. You're bluffing. It's not too hard to justify continuing there, because you're bluffing. You're trying to make people fold. Whereas you got ace king and you see betting flops when you've missed. What are you doing? We're trying to make people fold. We're trying to make people call. It just gets a big massive clusterfuck, doesn't it? Really good flop on table 2, by the way. So we're obviously going to be super excited to play a big pot. We're not given that opportunity. I've also increased my c-bet sizing in 888 Caption 2, which is this little program here. I'm not always making large c-bets, but I did seem to be getting too many folds last night with my c-bets. So if I'm not going to get too many folds, and I'm usually going to be like betting with made hands or hands out of decent equity, I may as well make those bets a little bit bigger and get more value for them. So that's my thought process. I was around the 60% pot last night. Now, yeah, I accept that betting full pot or close to it's going to get me more folds from some marginal hands, but I think there's a trade-off there. We get more folds, so when we want to bluff, we get more folds, and then when we do get called, we get more value. So there's a trade-off to be had, and I think it's something that's definitely worth playing with. Let's see bet with our good shot 1 over card here on the King Jack X. Obviously hoping for folds, but if we get called, we're not dead. A lot of this is a work in progress. These 10-0 games, they play differently to the 13-0 games I've been used to playing, and the Sky games. They're completely different to the Sky games. One thing I've already come to terms with is it's not going to be a picnic list. It's not going to be like some super easy charge to 1,000. Do I think I'll make it if I stick it out? Absolutely, of course I will. I'd be very surprised if I didn't make it. If I wasn't a significant winning player in these games. But although at the moment I'm winning at 9 blinds 100, I don't think that's going to be sustainable in the long term. And I think we're going to be looking at approximately 200,000 hands to get the job done. Maybe less if we count bonuses. If we don't count bonuses, I think it's going to be 200,000 hands. If we do count bonuses in there, we could maybe get the job done in 180 or something. But It's certainly not going to be easy. This is a novel change of 3-bet ace king and actually hit. This wasn't happening yesterday. Reasonably happy just to pick the pot up there. Most of the time when you've got one pair, you should be happy if you get the fold. Obviously, you know, not all the time when we want to be getting value too. But and at any 3-bet pots, we should usually be happy with the fold. When we're deep there, I'm happy with the fold. If it was 100 blinds deep, we'd just be like betting and getting it in, of course. But quite often when we have one pair, playing for the fold or hoping for the fold when we bet isn't the worst thing in the world to do. Because if we get too much action and we only have one pair, we're not going to be good that often. Maybe if people are just check calling us down and what have you, we could be good a decent amount, but there's too many people check calling 3 streets these days. They usually check calling 2 streets or and folding rivers, or just like check looking to get a check raising at some point. So I'm never super excited to get tons of action when I just got one pair. Squeeze the queens here, bearing in mind we are pretty deep against whatever the heck it's called. But we are in position, which is a significant advantage. He just folds, which has been a little bit disappointing. It's obviously absolutely fine. A little bit worried about extra Roshi here. I've known this player for a long time, and he is some kind of like really shit short stacker, but he's kind of at the stack size now where he likes to jam a lot. So a little bit worried about peeling the queen 9. And raise a queen to value here on the king 7-6. We would come up quite a few draws here. We can maybe make him 3-bet worse hand to value, 3-bet his draws too. If he's got a set or an overpair. I mean, I don't think he does this with an overpair too often. I think if he has aces and things, so often we see people just like betting and calling here when they've got the overpair. I'm not going to shove though. I'm going to call and then just shove the turn if he bets. And if we're in a cooler situation where he just has a bigger pair or whatever, then just fuck our lives basically. And yep, our race clearly did induce some kind of spew from him. This is looking like it could well be aces versus kings on table 2. It's really awkward with the stack sizes. I mean, jamming's just too much of an overbet. So we just do it this way, and if he shows them we call, it's probably going to be aces versus kings. We kind of 160, 150, 160 blinds deep. Getting kings in pre doesn't make me want to vomit, but it's something I'm prepared to do. Problem with this here is just how often does he just jam worse? You know, we're putting him in a tough spot with like queens and jacks and things, I guess. But how often does he fall about them too? So I don't mind if he just falls here and we just pick up them when it's in the pot. If he's tanking with aces and then jamming, it's just LOL, because we just never have a bluff there. Or so rarely have a bluff there. No pair, no draw on table 2, so we'll go for it's on table 3, sorry, so we're going to go for a delayed c-bet. If he checks again, then we shall bet into him as it's come out swinging with a pot size bet, which makes me pleased that we check back the flop. 8-7 suited at the 1 hole. Nope. Having to play that hand out of position to at least 3 and possibly 4 players it just makes it really unprofitable, in my opinion. Chipping up nicely at all of our tables. It's got a good feel. It feels like I've made some nice adjustments from last night into how I'm approaching it. I feel much more confident. I feel like I've got a strategy and a plan for the time being. Like last night when I was playing and I started, I was just playing whatever. I was just playing my game, doing my thing that I do at the slightly higher stakes. And whilst I'm not saying that wouldn't work, because of course it would. I like to adjust. I like to try and figure things out, and not just be like, well, this is the way that's going to work. So let's just churn that out. If there's a better way, I like to try and find it, and I feel like I like the adjustments that I've made. I'm going to just triple off here now with the ace jack. Now the kings come on the turn. We can definitely get called twice here with pair plus draw type hands like 7-6, 5-6, 6-4, 7-8, all those type of things that will call twice and then just check for the river. So let's go for it. And if he wants to call me with like a one pair type hand, that's fine. But I mean, I love those kind of boards for running triple barrel bluffs on, because people will call twice. With pair plus draw, then they just not call the river. So it's really is a very nice spot for going for the triple barrel bluff once like the king hits the turn. We're scared of out into the clip on those types of boards because there's just so many weak hands to get to the river with that just brick the river. They just don't improve. I mean, obviously, if the river completes like a 4-2 a straight or something, then you would have to abandon your plan. But if the river bricks off, it's usually a good spot to empty the clip. Is it going to work all the time? Of course not. But I think overall, you're going to show good profit with that. Certainly a lot better profit than just like stabbing and giving up, that's for sure. Another thing I learned last night was after I'd finished making the video, I played with music for a while, and I think playing with music on absolutely affects my concentration levels. I just relax. I don't switch off as such, but I just feel like I don't play as well. So I shan't be playing with music for the rest of this challenge. If I ever feel like, oh, you know what, I want some music on, I'm going to take that as my body telling me that, or as my mind telling me, we're ready for a break here. We're losing a little bit of concentration. We are, or whatever. We need something. If we need an extra stimulus to help us keep going with the grind, it usually means that I've switched off somehow. And if I feel my mind starting to wander towards wanting music on, I'll certainly use that as an alarm bell. So his limp called, check called this flop, donk the turn on the spade. It's a really easy fold, we just have nothing. I think something that I felt how these games played last night as well was, and it's most of the regulars, and I include myself in this, but maybe not as much as some of the regulars. They're just nits. Maybe not pre-flop. Maybe some of the regulars aren't super nitty pre-flop. Maybe they're playing, I don't know, 20% of hands. Maybe they're 3-betting like 6% or something like that. Maybe they're stealing like 70% or 60% or something. But when it comes out the brass tacks and pots start getting big, or this action starts going in pre-flop with 3-bets and 4-bets, or we start getting raised post-flop, they can usually start putting, from what I've seen, I know hands have observed and what have you, you can usually start putting regulars somewhere close to the top of their range for doing whatever it is that they're doing. And they're just nits, and I don't blame them for that. I'm just a nit too. What I'm going to hope to be is to be a much better nit than Ace Queen. I mean, this could be a misclick here from Muggervale. I'm not sure, so we just sit and watch it for now. See what's going on. I'll get back to the point in the moment about nits when we've seen what's happening here with Muggervale. I see these min 3 bets. I kind of want to know, is it a strategy or is it a misclick? It's kind of an important thing to know. So hopefully this hand goes to showdown and we get to see what the heck is going on. Muggervale checks back the turn, which doesn't reek of strength, does it? So what did Muggervale have? 5-4 suited. So, who knows? We'll certainly keep our eye on him going forward with him in 3 bets. Could just have been a misclick. I suspect it was a misclick. So yeah, going back to the point about the nits, most of the guys that are playing are just nits when it comes to big pots, and that's to be expected. I think that's the same most levels of poker that certainly that I played. So my plan isn't to be super loose and aggressive, because they're kind of nitty. They're calling with hands that you would expect some people to be 3-betting or 4-betting with. They're kind of big into pot controlling but not folding post flop, like checking strong hands and calling. So I've got some of the strategies that I've used and have worked quite well at 13. I aren't going to work quite as well in these games, I don't think. So my plans is just to like out nit them, if you will. Not be like super nitty, but like post flop but pre flop. Just try and have like the strongest range more often. Try to have the strongest hand more often, and then look to exploit them post flop by just having stronger hands and value betting them to death when they're in that check call board with like the middle third of or the middle, maybe even the middle 60-70% of the range. That's the plan. I value on myself way too much, and that needs to stop. Check back this river as well, I think, because again, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see pocket tens, pocket jacks just pot controlling the fuck out of things here. Ace king as it happens. Again, I wouldn't have been surprised to get called and maybe sometimes see a better hand there. Not very often. I've valued on myself a few times. I've ran some bluffs that haven't worked out too well because they've had stronger ranges than I've expected. And all in all, just getting used to like how weak tight. I'm not like weak tight. I wouldn't even know how to describe it. They're kind of just weak, generally weak players. People check calling hands that you would expect better players to be value betting. Just those types of things. And mine I've not really, at first, didn't really, not adjust the wrong word. I wasn't expecting it. It felt funny to me that people were check calling 2 or 3 streets. They just weren't c-betting top pair, for example. Just check raising me king queen, ball coming down like queen 7-4, and just check calling all the way down with it. Things like that. So, yeah, I'm going to be bluffing slightly less and value betting thinly that will not value, but having the courage to bet 3 streets with some 1 pair hands, that type of thing. Thinking, well, they can't really have worse, knowing that they can have worse. If someone's like check calling 3 streets with pocket jacks on like 10x 10 or something, just making sure that when I can beat pocket jacks and pocket queens, I get the third bet in and don't fall into the trap of, worse hands can't call. Because they're going to have quite strong worse hands quite a lot of the time. That's how it feels. So we check call flop, don't turn, check river. Again, we'll go for some pretty thin value, and I could be in trouble here if he calls. But, he could have a hand like pocket 8s, pocket 9s, pocket 10s, jack 10, jack queen. There's tons of worse hands he can have that can call. He might just have donked the turn with a draw. He might have floated the flop well with king, queen, a diamond or something, and just donked the turn when he hit his diamond. Who knows? So you will see me sometimes calling a single raise with hands like pocket queens, pocket jacks. Just because I think, it helps, it makes me harder to play against. It allows me to value bet with more confidence when people take the bet flop check, check call turn, check call river. It allows me to have more strong hands in my range, and if I'm always 3-betting those hands and only calling with middle pairs and things like that. So, if I got pocket 8s, so if I got pocket queens, someone's got pocket 8s, and I 3-bet them pre-flop, I might get some pre-flop value from them, and there's a tiny bit of flop value, but then they'll back away. But if they got 2 8s, I've got 2 queens, and the ball comes down not too scary for 2 8s, then I can comfortably get 3 streets of value. So just little things like that I'm going to do. I mean, it's fine to 3-bet queens. Obviously C-bet, but it's not that easy to go like C-bet. So we 3-bet queens, then go bet shove. When you're, say, I don't know, fucking cut off versus middle position. It's hard to get all the money in that way, and it's quite often you'll win a smaller pot than you will if you just call pre-flop with queens, and you call a C-bet, then you bet turn and river. You'll often win a bigger pot doing that than you against pocket 8s than you would do by 3-betting versus pocket 8s and trying to get all the money in post-flop. That's how it feels these games go anyway. So we're going to use that as a strategy for a little while. In a situation where someone's betting someone, so where someone's raised, someone's called, I'm not going to turn the opportunity to squeeze, because I don't want to be playing like pocket jacks, pocket queens in multi-way pots too often. But when it just looks like it might be heads up, or when up to now only one person in the pot, I'm going to be looking to not 3-bet too often there. It's a big C-bet, and absolutely no reason to raise on this board texture. If he bombs the turn, we're going to raise though, just to allow us to get some big value on the river. He hasn't bombed the turn. He's bet pretty, well, not small. I think he probably does have an ace at this point. He has an ace. It means it's super unlikely he's got a flush draw, which means we can make a small raise and not be too worried if a flush card comes off. He did just bet fold the turn though, which he is bet folded an ace there then. Congratulations to him. I was kind of hoping that my sizing would make it pretty hard for an ace to fold. Maybe he was just bluffing the turn, who knows. Maybe he was just valiantly trying to get an under pair through or something. Seems like a reasonable turn card for us. On table 3. And that just making it quite hard for him to have an ace. So we're going to bet really, really small. Min limp, then a tiny 3-bet. We have to call with the queen jack, even though I'm very confident we're crushed. Not anymore though. Now I'm pretty sure we're not crushed. And I'm going to look to put a really big check raise in, because I think this fish is just so likely to have super strong hand. If this guy's got ace queen, then he's going to win a big pot. I'm going to not give him a chance to get away from his aces here. I'm going to make a massive raise if he does have aces and just look to get all the money in. We lose to what? Exactly ace queen. I think we have to shove here, and if he's got exactly ace queen, then it's unfortunate. He does have exactly ace queen. Never mind. And we just have to shove this turn now. I mean, it's shit that the spade has come, but we do at least have some blocking quality on that, and he just folds. I mean, that is shit when somebody does have the ace queen. It's like boat over boat, and there's literally one hand that we're scared about. We just have to raise that river. And some of you will be looking at that and thinking, you know what? Why did you raise river? Not worse hands are going to call. We had the second nuts, of course we're going to raise the river. If we run into the nuts, well, we just run into the nuts. This guy's stack size, I think, makes it where we just have to bet and call it off if he shoves. If he's got a flush, well, he's got a flush. And he just fold. So yeah, we got a reasonable bit of action there. Some good, some bad. Two fives, just to let them go. Ace six suited from the middle position. Bearing in mind, our action plan is to outnit nits, and we'll let that go. Outnitting the nits. That is the strategy. Bit of a weak call from the small blind with the jack nine suited, but someone's got a fish tag. I'm comfortable enough with it. Lead the turn after the flop checks through. We don't have any showdown value, but we have some equity. This player last night struck me as some kind of like reg fish. Not really that comfortable calling a 4x open though, reg fish or not. So I'm just not going to do it. A good flop to check call with against extra Roshi. And it's all gone just a little bit sour for us with that run out. I'm probably just going to check fold now. Wow, ace jack, he just doesn't find the value bet. And that's what I mean, how we're going to win in these games. Because that extra Rossi shit short stacker or whatever the fuck he is, he's still some kind of regular, and he's just missed a value bet there. Fair enough, I probably wouldn't have called, but he still missed a value bet, and that's what a ton of these guys are doing. So the strategy is going to be, don't miss the value bets ourselves, and be sure that we're not paying off super loose. And if we can stick to that and show discipline with that, we are going to have a lot of success. A lot of success. Because we're just not going to be paying off, and we're hopefully going to be getting plenty of value. Then we have two overcards and a flush draw here. He's bet half, but he donked half pot after we isolated. I'm going to call, because I don't think on that board texture we're not going to get a raise through too often. When someone donks, they're just going to have it a lot of the time. Sadly, the board's paired now and there's 2 flush draws out there. We can't really continue with our straight draw anymore. But again, that's a really good spot to sometimes think, well, can we value raise here? But against that stack size and someone who's donked on that board texture, I just think we're going to raise, they're going to jam, and we're going to get it in behind too often. And yeah, we're going to have 2 overs and an opening straight draw, but you can't guarantee your overs are going to be good. Your straight draw is obviously going to be good. But it's easy to just think, fuck it, let's take the easy option, let's raise and get it in and not risk getting outplayed. But I think it's fine just to call there, try and hit your hand. You know, it's like, what is it? 14 cards on the turn that improve us. I'm going to hit them a decent amount. So I think it's fine just to call there and then just go with it. If we hit a 10 jack or a straight, obviously, then we just go with it. If he bets into us again, then we do just ship it in the face and let the chips fall wherever they do. Again, you'll see me not really playing too many small cards. It's in line with something I've been sticking with for a while now. In modern poker, with people just not stacking off too wide, I don't think you have enough implied odds with the small hands anymore. And too often when you do end up in a big pot with them, not too often, but often enough, you know, you find yourself with like the worst hand and the worst draw when all the money goes in, and that's obviously not an exciting place to be. I'm going to hope this guy doesn't limp jam, which he doesn't, but we get a really shit flop. Yeah, it's very rare you're going to catch me c-bet bluffing multi-way. We race from the small bluff and the big blind versus the small blind limp. We're going to c-bet the A-side board just once, try and collect any dead money that might be out there, like get king queen to fold, queen jack, king 10, king jack, all those types of hands. We're going to check back here. If he checks the river, we'll probably, well, I was going to fire a second bullet, but since we hit, we don't need to anymore. There's a small argument could be made for a thin value bet here, but I think it's too thin with the jack and just a 10 kicker. 5 deuce. I used to know whether our bluff would have worked or not. I think it would have, but who knows. When I was going back looking through the session last night, reviewing hands, there seems to be, from what I was seeing at the tables, like player stats that I had, seems to be less like aggressive fish in these games, and there's at 13-0. The types of fish you see in these games, it seems to be absolutely fucking shit tons of people playing like 22/10 and what have you, and I didn't see too many people with like incredibly high VPIPs. It might sound stupid, but I think these games actually play a little bit like nittier, tighter than the higher stakes games do, which you wouldn't expect. Typically people think, oh, the lower stakes are like super loose games, super loose passive. I haven't seen too much of that. At all up to now. And we make quads, and we're going to check jam on him because I'm going to expect him to like just bet all his full houses, bet his missed flush draws, etc. And he just checks back. I mean, there's no way he's checked back a king there. Oh yeah, the jack. Still, wow. I did not value bet a jack there on the river. I know I fucking would have, for sure. Fair play to him. But again, it's just another example of players not making value bets you would expect them to make. So therefore, when you're in a situation, when you're in a bluff catching situation, you should be less inclined to be doing the bluff catching. I'm going to have to call this turn now. We picked up the draw. Checks to us. This guy looks like a regular. It's from Serbia. Don't expect to be making too many mistakes, but I think we're going to have the best hand a decent amount. Check snaps that turn. And I've completely switched off on the hand on table 1. Do apologise for that. Been focusing pretty much exclusively on table 3 here on whether to value bet this river. He raised under the gun, he c-bet the flop, he check snapped the turn. He's checked the river. And we had the same hand. And again, that's a classic example of what I've been talking about, with people just like, they're just shutting down on turns constantly. Just constantly shutting down on turns with all like their medium strength hands. And just like going into flat out into bluff catching mode immediately. It's really interesting because it's not something I'm that used to seeing. I made quite a lot of mistakes against that line last night in terms of like how often I was bluffing. That's not a mistake I intend on continuing to make tonight into tonight's session, which again is what I talked about earlier. It's why I want to have more aces, kings, and that what have you in single raise pots, because people just do that. They just like c-bet flop and then they just bang showdown and fucking insist, and they just let's get the showdown in their heads, and they just seem to like call an extraordinary amount of the time. Presumably it's some kind of like bad form of GTO where they're wanting to balance the check calling range, so they're just like not betting value hands. Fuck knows. Maybe they're just all scared as fuck. I don't know. It's either people that are scared as fuck, or it's people that are just like checking too many strong hands to protect their other checks or what have you. Fuck knows what they're doing. I have no fucking clue. It seems shit to me. Whatever it is they're doing. It seems shit for these games anyway, where people are programmed to call too often. Maybe that's a good thing to do if you're playing a bunch of fucking whiz kids and sickos. Probably checking too many value hands at 10-0 snap. I don't think that's going to be a good strategy for you. Backdoor nut flush draw and backdoor straight draw, but I think we'll just let it go. Quiet spell at last. Seems like I've been in hands pretty much constantly for the last who knows how long. Completely fucked this king queen up here earlier, didn't I? I was too busy with the king queen down here. And that's definitely something I need to work on. I mean, I need to be 3 table in this challenge. I normally just 2 table when I play 13L or 15L, or when I play on Sky, I usually only play between 2 and 4 tables. Playing this 10L challenge, I kind of have to 3 table, or it will just take fucking way too long. But I'm going to have to work on my not losing concentration all the tables when I'm in a big pot, because it's certainly going to have a negative effect on my win rate. Raise on limp pot here with the 2 pair and super wet board. We are setting ourselves up for him to 3-bet us with a worse hand, because there's just so many fucking draws out there, but hopefully he's just going to call with a bunch of draws and get there in this way. I bet quite big here to continue charging draws. diamonds, straight draws, that type of thing. Sadly, he did just fold. And I did it again in that hand there. I don't even know what happened at table 2. I just clicked a button and I wasn't really concentrating. It's absolutely something I'm going to have to get my head around. Maybe when I'm in a big pot and I need to focus, maybe I just need to click out, sit out next hand at other tables and stop myself making mistakes that way. Get snap called on table 1. So I think his range for snap calling is going to be 10x. Under pairs and draws. Don't really want to be giving too many free cards on this, but what value can we get? We only really get value from draws now, so don't want this pot getting too big. And we can't really bet for value again with the king 7 off. Probably going to check and then decide on what to do if he bets based on his sizing. But he just checked back anyway. 7-8. We squeeze here if this player calls, so he's going to call. If he doesn't, sticking with the plan of not really 3-betting ace, jack, ace, queen, ace, 10, king, queen, that type of thing. And we can check call a turn here with the ace, jack. And we're going to empty the clip here now on table 1. King of Hearts is a really good card for us. We pick up a bunch of pot equity and a good amount of fold equity, hopefully. If we get called, if we get raised, we can think about calling. In 3-bet by somebody who's only got 30 big blinds. Have to call with the 10 jack and just hope to smash the flop. The alarm bells are going off here because now we've flopped top pair. And I want to call this more than that. I mean, if we'd have bet 8 blinds, I'd have been really nervous. But now I want to call because I'm like, really? Do people really just do this with aces and things? And maybe they do. I think we have to call because it just, I mean, whatever. Wow, 4-5. Didn't expect to see that one. Yeah, you could have given me lots of guesses there. And the 4-5 would have been pretty fucking low down the list of things that, of hands that I would have put him on there. Oh, it'd be nice to have jacks at all 3 tables, same suits, etc., etc. Just because I'm a little bit weird like that, basically. Probably going to call turn 4 driven against this line on table 2. It's gone half pot turn, bigger bet river. Typically when people increase their bet sizing on the river, in my experience, it's because they're trying to get value, not because they're trying to get folds. completely whiff with the king jack off, but we do have 2 overcards on the back door flush draw, so I think we're fine to make 1 c-bet and then just decide on the turn whether we're going to continue being aggressive or not. A good shot on table 1. Pretty much obliged to call. Pick up a double good shot on the turn. He checks. Given what we know about people's check calling ranges in these spots, this is a spot where I was owning myself way too frequently and just like betting and just like getting called by Queen X, King Queen, that type of thing. We're just going to take our free card here. I just think we have enough showdown value. I don't think we need to bluff. When he hit the 8, then he shut down. He very much doubt he was folding the turn there. Again, I feel that's just another example of how people just... I mean, that I think he's checking that turn's fine, by the way. But it's an example of once people make some kind of showdown value from the turn onwards when they're out of position, just how defensive they become. They become really, really defensive. They just become desperate to show their hand down. That is like their main priority, appears to be, let's show our hand down. Pick up a good shot on table 1. We snap called the flop. In particular, what to give up the lead there on the turn. He snap called again. The ace comes on the river, which by all logic makes it much less likely he's got one. So now do we want to check and do so? I mean, we can't bet him for value. It's way too thin. I'm going to check and probably just fold. Wow, he just instantly checks back trips. And I guess I should be pleased he's not put me to the test there. I just find it absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. The river trips, I check, they know I don't have an ace, or they should know that I don't have an ace. But they're just so fucking scared. It was like, they just have to be scared of being check raised there. So the only reason they're not betting, they have to know that the check raise bluff just doesn't fucking happen at the micro stakes on the river with any kind of frequency. Yeah, the game's just really fucking like nitty weak. People are just scared. That's the only thing I can put it down to. They're just they've got this whole mantra of worst hands can't call, so I'm going to fucking check everything going through their heads. It's a really horrible mindset to get into. I think that king jack can be the best hand here, so no real reason to bet. He can just be giving it with a hand like 10-7 or who knows what. We'll call the river if he bets. And we lose to ace-8, big deal. Such a small pot, who cares? I know I said earlier that I wasn't really 3-betting, but this guy isn't a regular. So because he's not a regular, we're going to 3-bet for value with our jacks, expecting to call with a much wider range than a regular would. King XX flop, far from ideal. Take a street off, probably call the turn. If he bets, if he doesn't bet, we're just going to bet for value ourselves. Awful river card. give up time. Hope to win against pocket nines or whatever. Pocket threes, same thing, virtually. Nearly an hour in the can already. Probably just going to play until the hour mark then. Think about turning it in for the video. I'm probably going to continue playing for at least another hour personally, but I think an hour's enough content for one day. I'm not going to commit to making a video every day, but I'm going to try and record the bulk of my late night sessions. Won't be recording any of my daytime sessions because I don't have the room to myself during those hours very often. But anytime I'm playing and I have the room to myself, there's a reasonable chance I'm going to record it. That's not the best of rivers. We just have to check now. Again, this isn't us being too weak. It's just like, you know, Queen 10's got there, Ace Jack's got there, Ace 4's got there. Yeah. Never mind. And there will come a spell where we just have a session where everything fucking clicks and people don't get there against you, and you're just going to be able to put a big number up every now and then. I mean, we're lucky the ace come there and not the 9 really. The 9 you probably get some more value from me. Well, we're not lucky the ace come because obviously it beats us, but you know what I mean. If you're gonna get there with the straight, it's much better for us he gets there with the ace than he does with the 9. Again, continuing my policy of not c-bet bluffing in multi-way pots. We will c-bet once we hit the river though. What to do with these pocket 10s? I mean, folding's out of the question. Just do we raise? I guess we can raise. Hoping draws call. Hoping like 7x sometimes calls. Don't really want to give Mac the chance to attack our just call. If we just call there, it gives Mac license, in my opinion, to bluff, because he has to know he's only up against one player once we only call the 3 big blind donk. Maybe not. Maybe Mac's not thinking that way. Maybe I'm giving players too much credit there. We could have just said we're playing games where we don't think there's much bluffing going on. Maybe I'm there, because if I was in Mac's shoes and someone like donk 3 big blinds and the pre-flop raiser just called, I would consider the pre-flop raiser to be pretty weak. And maybe sometimes I would raise quite light, just knowing that if I get through the better, I'm going to get through the raiser, like the open raiser. But maybe Mac's not thinking like that. Betting for value now with our Jack Queen. Ribbit another full house. This time I'm not making the mistake of checking to allow missed draws to bet, etc. We're just going to make a bet ourselves. And we got looked up 3 street. He would have checked back 5-5 for almost sure there. I mean, he's made 2 really bad calls there, I feel. Or at least 1 bad call on the river. So anyway, we are at the hour mark, so I'm just going to see that next time while I close out the video and do the little bits and bobs I need to do once the recording stopped. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. It seems like the first video's gone down quite well. It's got quite a lot of views quite quickly by the standards of where my videos accumulate views, and it's had 4 or 5 likes on the YouTube page, which again is really pleasing for me. If you are enjoying the series, please do give me feedback. Please do like it on the Facebook page. If you're viewing through YouTube, if you could go to the Facebook page and give it a like or a comment, I would really appreciate it. It just helps the videos do well in terms of views, which helps my ego. It's not such a big deal, but it's still nice. It's nice when if we're knocking videos out and we're getting 200 or 300 views per video without spamming it to Reddit, which I haven't done for a while now because I can't be arsed with the grief that comes with posting to Reddit. So it's nice if my videos can start to gain some traction on the road. I'd love to get to a point where my videos get 300, 400, 500 hits just by me posting them and those just getting that natural number of hits. So yeah, any likes or comments will help me achieve that. So if you could go to the YouTube page and give it a like, I'd appreciate it. We'll leave it there for now, and we'll be back with a video, not sure when, maybe tomorrow night, maybe the day after, who knows, but there's going to be lots more to come. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.